But I think what gets hard for us is when we look at the word always. Okay, so look at Philippians 4:4. It says, rejoice in the Lord always. And I think we get kind of tripped up in that, right? We said, okay, rejoice in the Lord, yeah, but always? Like at all times? And that's really what that verse means. At all times. Rejoice in the Lord at all times. How is that even possible? Right? And if we think that's not possible, then it's hard for us to really engage it and to say, like, I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to rejoice at all times. You feel like you're going into something that's already going to fail. Like, you can't do that. Okay, so what I want to really address, and what's helpful for me, is looking at another verse that's kind of related to this, that I think is kind of the key to help us in Philippians 4:4. And it's one we've looked at in the past, and it's one we've probably seen many times in our life, Romans 8:28. It says, as we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Okay, so if you remember when I talked about this verse before, this verse is talking about when Paul says in all things God works for the good, he's talking about negative things, right? Negative things in your life, God is actually used for your good. Because if it's already good, then God doesn't need to make it good, right? Does that make sense? This verse is talking about negative things. If it's already positive, he doesn't need to make it good. It's already good. He's talking about negative things in your life. That all the negative things in your life, it's going to work for your good. Right? That's what Romans 8:28 says. So if we believe Romans 8:28, then what does that mean to me? That means everything is either good or in the process of becoming good. Okay, if Romans 8:28 is true, then everything is either good or in the process of becoming good. And so if it's not good, then you know it's not over. If it's not good, if all things work together with good, all the negative things work together for our good, then we know if it's not good, he's not finished yet. It's not done yet. If we understand Romans 8:28, we can do Philippians 4:4. Because this says, I can rejoice when things are good, or I can rejoice when things are bad. If I really believe in Romans 8:28, that's the key to me to be able to experience Philippians 4:4, to rejoice always. When we understand this can change us. And there's two parts to Romans 8:28. So the things that are already good, like I said, that's not what Paul's talking about here. Those things don't need to become good. They're already good. But I think the problem for us is even the good things we don't rejoice in. Even the good things that are happening in our life, they just pass us by. We don't even give it a lot of thought. We don't really dwell on it. We don't praise God for it. We don't give thanks for those things. They just kind of happen and you recognize it sometimes. Sometimes you don't even recognize it. Even the good things we're not rejoicing in. But those are the easy ones. That's the low fruit. Start with that first. There's good things all the time in your life. No matter how difficult your life is right now, no matter how much struggling you're going through, there are good things in your life. Are you living and breathing? That's good. Do you know Jesus? That's good. No matter how difficult your life is, you will always have things that are good. Are you rejoicing in those things? There's two parts. There are things that are good, things that are not good. The things that are good, we need to rejoice in those things more often. We just let it go. God gives us so many blessings. He shows his hand in our life so often on a daily, moment-by-moment basis. We're not seeing it, we're not receiving it, and we're not rejoicing in it. We need to reverse that. We need to take this seriously, that this is one of our main jobs. This is one of the things that's clear for us as Christians. Our job is to rejoice. That's a good thing. That's a good job. To have joy, that's your job. Have joy, right? That's a good thing. It's not a heavy weight. It's not something difficult to have joy. That's why Jesus says you need to be like little children. They have no problem being joyful all the time, right? We have to tell them to be quiet and stop being joyful, right? But I think we need to learn from that, to be joyful. We need to have joy in the good things. And then, in order to do this Philippians 4:4, we need to have joy in the difficult times too. We need to have joy and believe in Romans 8:28. That even in this, I'm having greater intimacy with God. Even in this, He's showing himself to me more clearly. Even in this, he's drawing me close. Even in this, he's increasing my dependence on him so I can be more dependent on God and less dependent on myself, and that is a good thing. We need to rejoice at all times, whether we think things are good or whether we think things are bad. But if we can do that, we can experience one of the primary things that God has for us in our life. One of the things he makes crystal clear for us, his will for us and his desire for our life. Rejoice. Stop being so serious all the time. I know I do that. I'm just thinking so serious all the time. Be more responsible all the time, right? And I'm not proponing being irresponsible, but I'm saying be joyful in your responsibility. Be joyful in the things you're doing. Be joyful at all times, regardless of what's going on, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of what you're experiencing. Be joyful. Okay? And joyful is not something manufactured, as we talked about before. It's joy in the Lord. It's genuine, internal joy and peace that can't be shaken. That's the kind of joy that the Lord wants for us and wants us to experience.